So I decided to take a stroll the other day to a place called Grass Creek Park and take the dog and go for a walk and just kind of poke around. So I'm just going to roll some footage of what the park was actually like and do a few comments on it. But, as a bit of a teaser before we start the footage, it was actually really, really nice.
So guys, here we are at Grass Creek Park, and it's actually quite a nice park. I mean, I see why they call it Grass Creek Park, because it's just loaded with grass. Quite a nice beach. I mean, a little mucky this time of year, but I think they've just done some work on it. I'll just flick the camera around and we'll have a look here.
And you can see there's actually acres and acres and acres of nothing but grass. And I'm probably going to say this several times through the video. It's really pristinely maintained. I mean, there's not a piece of paper floating around anywhere. I mean, I was just super, super impressed with it. And you can see there's a beautiful view of the shoreline there. And there is quite, you're going to see in a minute here, quite a spectacular beach, even in terms of good for swimming and stuff like that. And as you can see, they do have a little volleyball court for people. There were just two people there at the time. And this is kind of the beach itself. You can tell they have done some dozing and stuff like that just to level it out and clean it up.
So I'm just going to wander down to the beach area here. It's funny, every time I want to film something, there's somebody cutting grass behind me. So like I say, I think they've just graded or dozed this area right here. But, I can see on a nice summer day how it would be actually quite spectacular. Bring your umbrella down here, and I mean, it's not like the Bahamas or Cuba or something like that, but, certainly is okay for this area.
Now, I didn't mention this is on the St. Lawrence River, which kind of feeds into Lake Ontario. So it does get a little bit mucky, but in these freshwater bodies, you usually see a lot of algae and stuff like that, but there was nothing whatsoever floating there. And you're going to see the clarity of the water in a minute here. I mean, you get that muckiness, but you get a nice sunny day, and that sand will clear up beautifully.
I mean, and the shoreline is clean. And I'll just zoom in on the water here a little bit. I mean, as you wade your way out there, it's fairly sandy. I mean, I don't see a lot of weed. I don't see a lot of deadheads or rock or anything out there.
And you can tell they clean that shoreline up because you see that in freshwater bodies all the time. You see deadheads, you see weeds, you see rocks, you see, all kinds of stuff on the bottom. But this was just clear sand. It's not like, the Barbados or the Bahamas or something like that, but it was absolutely, clear. So somebody has obviously gone in there and done some cleaning and made an effort that things were clean and there was nothing, especially jagged to walk on.
Quite a nice area. There's a boat launch over the other side, so you can bring your boat and just kind of tour around the lake and stuff like that. So I think this would be nice in the summertime, summer day. It's a little cool right now. It's the middle of September, so at a park for kids to play and stuff like that.
Now, this was the 15th of September that I went, and then, like I said, there were two people on the beach. They had just graded it or whatever they do, dozed it or whatever. The grass was cut all over, and, I repeated before, there were acres and acres of nothing but pristinely, groomed grass. It was actually quite amazing.
And like I say, you can see the grass here really, really well maintained. I mean, I've been to a lot of parks, and I have to say that I'm pretty impressed. Like, there is no garbage whatsoever, just as clean as a whistle.
Now, they do have these little slides and whatnot, obviously put up and paid for and maintained by the city of Kingston. And Kingston is really good for stuff like that. Like, they've got little parks all over the place, and I'm sure there are a lot of cities out there that have the same community approach. Now, as I say, this was around the middle of September when I was there, and there were only two people there. So I imagine it's a lot more crowded, especially in the summertime, July and August on a hot day. But still, I can easily see this accommodating 40, 50 people, kind of mingling around, maybe 60 with some umbrellas.
Now, the one thing I have to say about this park, if you look at a lot of the signs, It is not dog friendly. I mean, dogs are not allowed on the beach. And it's too bad because a lot of places haven't kept up with the times. I mean, it's not like the back hills where the old dog stays tied up in the backyard for hunting. I mean, today, a lot of people, their dogs are their kids. And I mean, if you don't allow dogs, they don't want to be there. And it's very much the same with me. So it's too bad that, such a beautiful, pristine little park don't allow dogs in the beach area, and that would be in the sand area. So, in all fairness, you could probably stay up on these little benches and have your dog. But I mean, if you want to spend the day on the beach, the dogs aren't allowed down there. I understand that a lot of irresponsible pet owners, that the dogs will poop and they'll pee on the beach, and people don't want to walk in that. So I understand that part of it too. So I guess it's a trade-off. People have to be more responsible, and a lot of these beaches have to be a little more understanding. And maybe in years to come, that'll happen.
Now, I just want to clarify that statement a little more or reiterate it that, yeah, they do advertise that the park itself is dog friendly, just not the beach area. Which kind of sucks because then you've got to have somebody to sit up at the picnic table area and sit there with the dog while you go down to the beach. Now, I've always maintained, and there's an exception to every rule, that there are no such thing as bad dogs. There are only bad pet owners, and this applies probably 85-90% of the time. If the dogs are trained properly, then, I mean, they'll be good. They won't jump on people. Most of the time, they won't pee and poop, and even if they do, if you pick it up, I mean, it's no worse than somebody spitting on the beach, for goodness sakes. And we live in a culture or a society where I believe, and I feel this way anyway, that dogs are our family. And I mean, if you don't allow my dog somewhere, then I ain't going there. And more and more airlines, more and more shopping malls, et cetera, are beginning to realize that. And it should be even more prevalent in outdoor spaces. So, I mean, parks and whatnot have to be really cognizant of that, of changing times.
And of course, a little roundabout cone there for the kids or half-loony adults to play on.
Half-loony.
A lot of benches, memorial benches.
Now, I'm going to reiterate on that one, too, that I do see a lot of memorial benches in parks, and I think that's really a great idea. What instead of planting a tree, which is always good, what a better way to preserve your memory than having a bench for people to go and sit on. I know it sounds kind of morbid, but, the reality of the fact is that we all pass on, and, it's a bit of our legacy. Come and enjoy the park. Come and enjoy nature.
Slides, stuff to keep the kids busy. And, of course, you've got a public washroom here, and I think that's I don't know, whether it be a public area for parties or get-togethers or just hanging out, whatever it might be.
Now, don't quote me on that one. I didn't take the time to go up and investigate, but it does look like an area where there's a social room or a party room or something like that up there. I'd have to look on the website and go into it in a little more detail. I'll put a link to the website down in the comment or the description section of the video. But again, you can see how well kept it is.
And of course, the parking lot. I suppose you could park maybe 40, 50 cars or something in this lot. And like I say, if you look in the distance here, there is a boat launch. And I would love to, well, number one, I'd love to have a boat.
I'm just going to clarify that point a little more. I did have a boat, and it was a 16-foot boat, had a 115 on the back, so the thing really flew. I sold it because I didn't use it that much, but now I'm looking at these parks and driving around to these areas in these parks, just thinking how nice it would be to have a boat again. So don't be surprised next season, next spring, if I'm back with a boat.
But one thing I really do have to say is Kingston, the city of Kingston, is really good for parks and really good at maintaining their parks. There are all kinds of parks around the area and in the city to go to. So there's certainly no lack of that. So, if you're a Kingstonian, you can certainly be proud of that anyway. But still, I have to say in general, I'm pretty impressed. I've said this 2 or 3 times now with how pristine, how clean it is, how well maintained it is. There's not a lot of people here, and I've seen pictures in the summertime, and there aren't many people here in the summertime. I mean, relative to the time of year, there are umbrellas and people, quite a few, but not jam packed. Uh, the only issue here is the dog issue, as far as I can see. So you'd have to have somebody up in this area to dog sit while you're down on the beach.
So that kind of concludes our tour of the park, of Grass Creek Park. I mean, let's face it, if you want a place, it's free, which is wonderful. And if you want a place to take your kids and hang out for the day, have a little picnic, a relatively clean place to swim. I shouldn't say relatively, a really clean place to swim. Like I say, just hang out, put your umbrella up, have a game of volleyball, let the kids play in the park on the slide and whatnot. And I said in the video a few times, and I made the comment a few times, my only pet peeve is the dog issue. The dogs are not allowed on the beach. Now, whether that'll change, I'm sure it will change in time. But anyway, just to reiterate, guys, that was Grass Creek Park, located near Kingston, about 25 minutes from Kingston. Well worth the trip, and I think you'd enjoy it. So thanks for watching, guys, and see you next time.